Hello everyone and welcome back to the Big Analytics Query. I'm Tom and this month we are going to be looking at AI and application development and how those users can harness the power of data. So firstly, welcome back to Andrew, our first repeat offender as a guest, but it's very, very good to have you here today.
Thank you very much, Tom.
The first question, application development and AI feel very two broad subjects and quite different.
Yeah.
How do they work together?
So we talk about application development because it's a way of surfacing up those AI capabilities to organisations. And we're going to talk about, I think, today how actually it's really important that AI is embedded in workflows and helps you out with the organisation efficiently and effectively in the right way. And application development sits really nicely with it to be able to utilise some of the capabilities.
So I guess almost taking a little step back, when we talk about application development, what specifically do we mean by that term?
So that's the ability to create apps, obviously.
Development even of apps.
And there's various different types of applications that exist. Some that you, web apps, for example, web applications like websites and stuff like that, we're all familiar with. Apps on your phone, that's another one. And full client applications, we call it as well. Traditionally, you've had those like things like Outlook and stuff like that. So an application is just basically some piece of software, effectively, and we've just got to know them as applications.
Makes sense. So those are the apps. And then what about the AI side? How do we interact with AI?
There's probably about three major ways in which we can interact with AI. First of all, there's the applications themselves, which we're going to talk about. There's also interacting with AI using code. So actually as a developer, creating machine learning models and stuff like that and completing analysis and using machine learning AI capabilities. But also you'll often find it's embedded within a lot of the stuff and that we use every day. And that's increasing every day as well, exponentially actually. And that can be, that's been around for a number of years now in things like recommendations engines that you'll find on, say, Amazon or Netflix and stuff that help us pick the right film or the wrong film sometimes. It's not always perfect.
Both sides of the sentence, haven't we?
Absolutely. And so that's existed for a number of years, but again, that is growing a lot, and we're finding that most stuff that you would interact with, things like software as a service that we have, like HR systems or CRM systems, are increasingly utilising AI, whether you know it or not. It does indeed, and there's various adverts you can see out on TV at the moment that are promoting that and saying that they're actually using that capability to help either protect people or surface up new exciting opportunities for them as well. So those are main different ways.
And you mentioned that AI is expanding in so many ways, and we see it in all fields, from like the chat boxes that have now popped up on the websites and everything else. But how do you get that such a broad topic and where we see AI in everything that we do? How can the application developers themselves really harness and actually use AI in the right ways?
So I think it's like most things. I think the general approach should be think about what the outcome is that you're trying to seek. So when we talk about application development, it's around designing the system and the workflow and the user experience and the user interface around the end user. So and what you're trying to complete with it. So it's really important that that's what you think about. So not just, I've spoken to lots of people recently wanted to get into AI and just trying to think, well, I'll start off using this and then I'm in AI now because I'm using this particular thing, rather than actually thinking about the business outcome. So when we think about application development in particular in relation to AI, that's really crucial actually. Yeah.
And do you have any examples of business outcomes where you can see AI being particularly useful? Because I guess, as you say, very easy to just go trigger happy with AI and put it absolutely everywhere. But maybe when you're starting that journey with AI, do you have any good first cases of using it?
Yeah, I think one that, I mean, I think everybody's talking about generative AI, right? And the sort of Copilot in particular, as we're Microsoft partner, which is fantastic. That's a really great, obvious place to start. But a lot of people have actually just thinking of it in terms of how can it help me in the modern workplace. So around, I don't know, summarising meetings and things like that, which are it's great stuff, but it doesn't really necessarily have a step change effect on businesses and stuff like that. So I know it's a cliche, but I recommend looking at things that really, really add a lot of value. And removing what we call non-value-added tasks and processes and stuff like that. And one really big area is the use of generative AI as a knowledge base. So traditionally, we've used things like SharePoint and other intranet sites as a way of being able to try and collaborate, break down silos within organisations as well, make sure we're not repeating a lot of the information, and surfacing up really important documentation as well around policies and procedures and things like that. And that was really great, that revolution where we adopted intranets. But unfortunately, it's hard to maintain, they're really difficult to search as well sometimes. And even when you do search them, you tend to just get back the document and not the answer. So for me, that is where people really need to start, because actually everybody's got a kind of knowledge base of some description across their organisation, and there's a wealth of information in there, and that using Gen AI on top of your existing knowledge bases can really make a difference for your organisation.
And I think you can also clearly then show the value of how it can truly be used, so then you can implement more and more.
Absolutely. You're right, Tom, and trying to get the buy-in from it as well is really, really important. And that's why it's a good place to start, because, again, speak to a lot of people that are saying that there's a mandate to get AI in because it's a buzzword, right? But then knowing, where do I start? To then say, I've done it now, tick the box that I'm actually doing AI, but in a useful way as well. And that is, and it's not difficult either to get that, that first, project done.
So I guess the next question is, how would you get started? What would your first steps in that process be?
But for that in particular, there's a number of different solutions available. Either using Copilot itself, and there's a premium version that you can use that you can hook up to your own what we call corpus of information, which is your own sort of data sets rather than looking at the internet specifically. So that's one thing you can do. There's also Copilot Studio as well, where you can create your own applications. And I've used that word again. But it is, you can create your own applications. And then you can use AI Studio, which is creating more comprehensive, I was going to say complex then, but actually more comprehensive and extensible solutions. And then there is building your own applications as well, which is becoming more and more popular. And those are quite easy ways to get started, I think, with it, or to implement it. But the choice of which one you choose is probably going to be the next question. And that is a question that a lot of people have. And do I build my own thing in Copilot Studio, or is Copilot good enough for the standard or the premium version good enough for what I want to achieve? And the answer to that is what your aspirations are around things like, I've mentioned it before, scalability, how much you want to extend it, what your capabilities are within your organisation as well. So, or working with a partner as well, which is entirely something that helps organisations push this forward. Because the Copilot is more, and the Copilot Studio is more low code, as we call it. So it doesn't require geeky programming that we do, versus something that's more high code. And that high code stuff, as I said, is more enterprise scalable, and you can start to build other features in that are specific to you and the way that you work. But back to your original question, if you just want to get started, actually, you just using that premium version of Copilot.
So I guess that's how you start with AI. But what if you're slightly further on in the journey? You've kind of built that generative AI. What's the next step within the app dev and AI world?
So I think the great thing about the cognitive services, as we call them, within the AI capabilities within Microsoft is it's not just the open AI as you've mentioned. So there's things like speech, there's things like vision, language, etc. And what the next step would be is to see how those different AI kind of models can work for you in one potentially AI front door.
Front door? What's that? You know the question.
Indeed. Yeah, so we're calling it an AI front door, but it's just a way that users can interact with that AI capability, and the way that actually you can start to stitch all of these things together to work in unison. So, for example, for our Redact Experts solution, we've stitched a number of different AI cognitive services together within that. So we're not just using one, we're using several, and that's only possible because of the application development piece in that. It would be quite challenging, quite difficult to do that if we didn't have that application development capability.
Now know what AI front doors are. Where would you put them within a business? What uses?
Oh, I mean, it's endless, but a few examples are things like, fraud detection and stuff like that. I've talked, or we talked about the redaction software we've got or application, which is great. And I think that's why it's really important, actually, that the application element, if it fits in here, is that it might not just be using the AI alone. Okay, so that redaction example is where you need to take documents in, have it all the PII automatically detected and redacted, but there always needs to be a process and a workflow whereby what we call a human in the loop.
Checking, essentially.
Exactly that. Yeah, so that human in the loop is really, really important. So those are great examples where you've got something that AI can help you with and automate and remove those non-value added tasks, but then actually interact with a particular kind of workflow or operation which needs a human in the loop to be able to help you with. That's where it's perfect.
So I guess it's kind of using those AI to make the human task that would seem impossibly long much quicker, but it's not replacing. So I guess I can see how you can stitch it all together and how you can use those things in some way or another, but what are the practical uses? Who's the audience for that?
So generally speaking, there's two major audiences: internal users and external users. And in the internal users, it's things like using it for strategic projects. It's back office and workplace, or indeed actually in operations as well. So an example might be field sales operatives or something like that. Other examples might be things like healthcare assistants helping clinicians and GPs. It might be around field sales operations and stuff like that. So you could be a plumber and have an application that allows you to take a picture of, say, a radiator. You can tell I'm not a plumber.
I guess.
Whatever. And then it identify the kind of type of radiator it is and be able to price that up for you. They can create a quote for you and stuff like that then allows you to have that interaction with the customer. That's just one example, but that extends to so many different kind of operations out in the field. And then regarding the external organisations, it could be customers and clients, suppliers and vendors, or indeed partner organisations as well. So you don't think of it just being restricted to one particular kind of audiences. There are lots. And we're seeing in particular that kind of interaction between organisations being key in terms of, trying to leverage the capabilities of AI through application development and through doors.
And I guess then bringing it into the app dev world, it's using those kind of same situations, isn't it? It's having the AI part of the function, part of the system, not replacing everything, but just helping you out with those kind of manual tasks and thinking about what the end users will experience, because that's ultimately the goal, isn't it? It's helping an end user experience become more efficient.
That is exactly it. Yes, absolutely. And that's why when we talked about it right at the start, it's around making sure the best advice is to look at what those outcomes are and look at your UX and UI. And that's why I think the two things, application development and AI, fit really nicely, because when we're talking about app dev, for many, many years, that's the key thing, the go-to that we think about is about that user experience and user interface and how people are going to interact with it. But unfortunately, I think as they start, just get AI out there everybody can start using it, but it's the how bit of it that's really, really important.
And there's no point automating tasks that nobody does anyway, or putting it places where nobody's going to see it. Using it intentionally.
And that methodology exists, so why not use it?
Absolutely. I guess a bit of an impossible question, but we've seen a lot of progress in AI over the last few years and even months, and it's continuously improving. What do you reckon the future is of these capabilities? Where can you go, especially within the app dev? How can you kind of jump on board that bandwagon and keep stretching it forward?
I mean, it's big. It's a big question for the AI element of it. Obviously, we're some way off what we call super intelligence, which is like Skynet style AI. We are some way off that. I think that having it embedded in organisations as a part of what we do is where I think we're going to end up. But it's making sure that we're getting, like I said earlier, I think key to that is focusing on where AI can help immediately in terms of removing those non-value added tasks and stuff like that. I think that's where it's going to end up. It's not. I don't think. It's a bold statement, but it's not about trying to recreate everything that we do. Many people have talked about that. But in terms of application development as well, how I really see it is following the same pattern that data has, but for both of them actually, whereby for data analytics, we know that actually in a lot of organisations it's respected in the same way as HR or marketing or finance. Do you know what I mean? The people have adopted it as a function in its own right, not just something we do. So we've seen that. We've seen that for a number of different technology kind of advancements as well, and new areas that organisations can take advantage of. And I think that's where AI is going to go, right? It's going to be embedded that much and to that degree, and in particular application development as well. So there's lots of what we call commercial off-the-shelf products for things like AI. And we've been talking about sort of application development being, because of AI, the need to utilize it, being part of an organization's capability, not just something that they think about or go, we don't do application development. But that doesn't mean you have to have a big department in-house. It could be that you're supported by a partner doing it. It's just that you take on the fact that you can adapt to and not just say, find a piece of software that might not quite fit what you're trying to achieve.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew, for coming and speaking to us. I know we've got some broad topics, so thank you very much for your insight and wisdom. And thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our videos. And if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below, and we'll be back next month. Bye.